welcome to the final caffeinated verse of the season. We are going to break after this until September, so this is our very last event of the season
No,
together.
you got the workshop next time.
The last featured reading event in Malibu until after the summer. Thank you, Anne. And I thought today would be a good day. What we did in September is we opened our featuring with Anne, who was our previous poet laureate, the fourth. And I wanted to finish the season with Ricardo, who was our first poet laureate. Do the wave. So I first met Ricardo at a caffeinated verse event when he was the host about 6 years ago, I think, maybe 5 years ago. And he quickly took me under his poetic wing and invited me to join him on hikes, invited me to work with him in some of the local schools alongside Jolyn, who's sitting over there. I'm deeply thankful to Ricardo for including me so quickly after just hearing some of my poetry. So it is a great honor to have Ricardo here. He is the author of 6 books, including books of poetry, novels, and works for children. He is a teacher, very talented surfer, I've heard through the grapevine, and an excellent hiking buddy, friend, and was a wonderful poet laureate that got this whole thing started. So this is all possible, especially because of Ricardo. So join me in welcoming Ricardo Means Ybarra. I know you're less keen on me.
I don't know if I'll need this microphone. So, easier without it. You can all hear me, right?
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you, Nathan, and what a job he is doing, right? I mean, he's put his reflection on the whole poet laureate, this caffeinated verse, and I know that everybody feels the same way, but we love him, and thank you very much. And you are a great hiking companion. So, this is so thrilling for me. It was actually 8 years ago when we started Caffeinated Verse, and I want to thank Ann Buxey.
Yes.
And maybe some of you remember Kathy Sullivan, who was the president of the Friends of the Malibu Library. She was fabulous. So, Kathy and Ann, thank you so much.
And everybody here who shows up.
I know, look at this community. This is really, what fun. And I can't believe that my wife isn't here yet. But it's okay. The poem that
She was my husband.
The poem that I featured her in isn't until the third poem. And I'm just going to ramble on anyway. So. But anyway, I'm really grateful that you are having me finish up the season, and it's just really fun to be the reader, the featured reader instead of the host. I've been up here, introducing people, so this is really fun. And so for my first poem, and I want you all to look at this beautiful artwork that Shifra did. That is a broadside that the City of Malibu is going to put out, and actually all the poet laureates are going to have that broadside, and with their own art and a poem on there. So thank you, Shifra. That was really a beautiful job.
Thank you.
And I've decided that that's the poem that I'm going to open with. And Jolyn, I'm sorry, you've heard this poem 1,000 times.
It's my favorite. And to see your artwork with it, Shifra, it comes to life. It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
But the poem is about P-22, and he is the mountain lion that crossed the 2 freeways, and there she is. going to make Nathan say all those nice things about me.
Got it on tape, it's okay.
Yeah.
Ricardo, tell us who she is.
Oh, this is the love of my life. So,
Wow.
yeah. So anyway, where was I? P22. P22. I think everybody's heard of him, right? The famous mountain lion. And so I have a poem about P22 called Advice from a Hollywood Cougar. And the reason why is because I have that beautiful picture by Steve Winter that was on the cover of National Geographic with P22 under the Hollywood sign. And Schifra captured a little bit of that right there, or a lot of it. And so that was a prompt. That poem is a prompt for the students and the advice prompt. And they love that, writing these poems, advice from. There's one that we love using over and over. It's called Advice from Gum. And it allows them to, think about a different persona and put themselves into the heart and body and soul of something else. So it's really creative and it's really fun. And so I use this poem. For all those years, P22 was alive. And so it was so much fun to tell them about P22 and about this incredible creature that lived in at Griffith Park, and kind of inform them of his life and everything, how he crossed the 2 freeways, and then he died. And I have been struggling with this poem since then. So I'm gonna read it and share it with you because I'm thinking that'll help me get over his death. Anyway, I don't know why I'm getting so emotional. I am.
Well, look at him.
Okay, so here we go. I told myself, do not get emotional. Here we go. Advice from a Hollywood cougar. Ignore Los Angeles, bright lights, romance. Go to the carousel and run with the painted horses. Run hard. They never tire, never complain. Run until your tongue is pink and liquid under the mirrors, until you forget the smell of freeways, the confusion of mange. Run until the calliope monkey throws down his drum and then turn twice. Raise your magnificent head and growl. Growl low and sweet into the sweat of enameled wood, into necks slathered with jewels, into the dance of golden poles. It's time now. Look to the east. Leave your scent, your claw marks, where they will know to find you, where you will never be found. That's it. No more emotion. Right? Right?
Sure.
Okay, so I was going to read 3 love poems, and it turns out that I think this is a love poem. I mean, And here's my second one. The second one is called Along the River, and this one is about salmon and Alaska. Along the river. I was in love once, long before the rain dripped careless, as a young girl fishing along the edge of desire, along a river of shadows, curved backs, stiff fins, jaws jutted, a girl embracing her salmon, pigtail, ginger hair, stained green jacket, small hands curled white across the dense red gills, dorsal fin slapped across her ribs. I hopped a train once, slept curled, fin to jaw, back bent for love. I was always in love, long before I knew what to expect. Pinks and cohos, sockeye king, skin flayed, gasping, slumping, carped white across the back. Salmon bearing memories, heartache, salmon bearing a torch, a thin gold chain, leaving nothing but flesh and eggs, a bed of gravel along the river, shadows along the edge of desire. Oh, thank you. Okay, that's it. No more love and death. Now we have true happy love, joyful love. And this one is, Cynthia and I went to Austria to celebrate her father's 80th birthday. Her father was born in this little village in southern Austria in the Alps. Really, really beautiful celebration. The whole village was there. It was fabulous. And so we would take hikes every day, and one day we took this hike. And you know how anything can happen in the mountains.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of events, a couple of experiences, let me put it that way. And I like to call, when we write, I like to call those experiences stumbles. You know, you stumble across something and then your poem just becomes that much better. It opens up. And that was what these experiences were like. So it's called Three Cows. Is I was in love with the Austrian cows. They're beautiful. These are brown, velvety cows. This one is called Three Cows. We had only a moment before the busload of clouds arrived and emptied out, stiff, bent at the waist, ignoring the plea to stay close, not to wander among the pines tightly grouped in the high mountain pass, or obstruct the beautiful panorama Cynthia and I anticipated during a long, steep hike, plus 2 streams crossed, simply attired in shorts and sandals from the alpine valley below. 3 cows browsed in the promised viewing area, stunted horns bound with copper wire. 3 brown cows and a bell, clear as rain, clanking under swayed pines. We had only a moment in clouds. Excuse me, let me start over. We had only a moment in clouds so tight it hurt, holding her warm and close and good. It hurt to breathe in the slow curve of her neck, to hold so much on top of the world. Okay. So, what I thought I would do is take you back to my early years when I first started teaching poetry. And this is going to be a little bit of a story, but I think it's interesting and fun. So it was about 20 years ago, and the publisher of my poems, Redhead and Press, decided they were going to get into teaching in the schools, writers in the schools, and they were looking for teachers, for instructors. And so I said yes. You know, I would love to be an instructor. I had no idea what I was doing. Red Hen Press had no idea what they were doing. They sent me to this high school in downtown LA near MacArthur Park. And I remember going into the classroom, opening the door kind of slowly and looking in, and there was about 35 14 and 15-year-olds just climbing the walls. They were excited. They were, they're 14 and 15-year-olds. And if I could have, I would have closed the door and ran back to my truck and driven home. But they all saw me because they were looking for me and waiting for me. And it was like, there he is, the poet. Oh my God. So I remember I walked in, and it's pandemonium. And I'm looking for the teacher. And there's some little woman over here at a desk, and she didn't look any older than the students. And I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? She was wonderful. I remember I was floundering, and she said to me, why don't you ask for volunteers? Well, as you know, that is the core of what we do in the workshops. We ask for volunteers. It creates community like what we're doing right here. That's what poetry is. It's the ripple effect. It's the fire circle. You read, people listen, and then it's their turn to read. That's why this poetry thing is so wonderful, isn't it? It's family, it's community. Anyway, so the whole class just completely changed. And they were wonderful. And you can imagine that this was like the school was about 140% Latino, right? So one of those students is going to be named Jesus. What are the chances that I'm going to have a student named Jesus? And so when it was Jesus's opportunity to come up and read his poem, I said his name out. And it was like the whole class was waiting for me. They were thinking, I know they've been planning this. We are going to get the new guy. And as soon as I said, Jesus, the whole class went, Jesus! And somebody yelled out, Jesus, give us the word! And I had my poem. There we go. Just in case you don't know, and you've always wondered what happened in those years, I'm going to tell you now. Jesus, the teenage years. His parents are concerned. When he talks, they hear tongue stud, nipple ring. If it was only words, he might explain the white, hot fist twisting his gut over the hip, down into his groin, tight as yellow teeth, curled lips, ready to split. There is no sign of abuse. Stable family, father a carpenter, mother without stain. So it begins. Nights of long shoulders hunched over, haphazard wrecking of public and neighbor, whatever was breakable, whatever he could tag. Graffiti that pissed the boys off. Son of man. Run him down, beat and curse him. Son of man, son of a bitch. He can't explain. Frogs with 3 legs or none. Frogs with 2 heads. Muddied eyes, blind as fists from constant push-ups. Bust a nose. Cheek, rupture a spleen. He shaves his head. Tattoos, Los Apostles, in block letters, Roman, 72-point bold, a halo across his abdomen. The authorities are concerned. When he talks, they hear love of man. Frogs, blind and sterile, frogs with 3 legs or none. There is no sign of shame. La Magdalena, the solid girlfriend, Chavala of mascara and tight hips, ripe pomegranate lips. If it was only words, he might explain. Long nights of concrete at the river, a stone cast over the water, the magenta streak in her hair, his fists flat and open, recklessly open. So it begins. And that was a fabulous class. Those kids were just great. I don't remember his poem, but I remember one of the other kids' poems. It still sticks with me.
Did that poem you just read come from that Jesus?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So, because Jesus, give us the word, and that poor boy just put his head down on his desk, right? So now I just got a few more poems, and one is for my friend Doug Rucker. Yes. Doug Rucker is 96 years old now.
Wow.
96. I wrote this poem for him when he was 95, but I didn't get to read it for him because he shares the same birthday as Cynthia. So if it's going to come down to Cynthia's birthday party or Doug's, well, you understand, Doug.
We'll have it together.
There you go. Now, the most beautiful thing about Doug Rucker, other than he's a fabulous poet, artist, and architect, is Cynthia and I live in one of Doug Rucker's houses.
Wow.
Yes, one that he designed. Yes, I'm so proud of that. And he is going to read one of my favorite poems. It's called Winnie, about a dog. And so this is a parody of Winnie, a loving parody. This is for you, Doug. This is one that's called Blue. She brings her black dog in the late afternoon, on the sun long and bright, exceedingly bright. Bright as a shadow on the ocean, bright as a black dog in the water. Big black dog swimming out, slap happy black dog, wet black dog, good dog, blue. She surfs in the late afternoon on waves long and bright, bright as her shadow on the ocean, bright as a black dog swimming out to her. Big black dog, silly as a seal, wet black dog, good dog, blue. She hugs her black dog in the late afternoon on sand long and bright, exceedingly bright, under a sun, bright as a big black dog, warm black dog, good dog, blue. Thank you, Doug. You'll get to hear Winnie later. So I'm going to close with my most recent poem, and I wrote this for my friends from El Nido. That two of them showed up, and I can't thank you enough. There we go. Neighbors. So this is about the solar eclipse that we had just recently, and it's called. I don't know where they came up with this figure. I assume that the meteorologists or scientists know, but it was 48% of a total solar eclipse. That's what we got here in Malibu. And do you know that the date that this fell on was 4/8? Now, I'm not a conspiracy guy, but that's pretty cool. I mean, maybe it was 49%, but somebody went, oh no, we got to make that 48%. Anyway, so here we go. And before I read this, I just want to thank everybody again, and I can hardly wait to hear your poems. it's a beautiful community here, and I feel the give and take, and that's what poetry is. You know, you just imagine it around the fire circle before they had the written word. It was this. It really was. And I see it when I teach the kids, you know. And speaking of that, thank you, Nathan, and thank you, Jolynn, for being my co-teachers all these years. 48% of a total solar eclipse. Dale says we aren't going to see anything, but he makes the long drive anyway. Swears to keep secret the near absolute thrill of 48% exposure at a ceremonial sun circle in the Santa Monica Mountains. While I wait for Dale to arrive, there's an anxious little Arkansas town waiting to bless 100 nuptials, 100 sweaty-palmed love struck under a full and total 100% solar eclipse. 100 betrothed, waiting the 4 long minutes of darkness, 4 long minutes before the sun reappears, before the sun shines on, before mama, before papa, before mama tells you. 100 dressed up in lovely flowing bridal whites, formal groom tuxedos, waiting to kiss, consecrate, seal, and say those immortal words. We hiked out past 2 abandoned, burned out homesteads and 1 tired concrete spillway, striving to hold back a seasonal creek on an exposed, barren fire road, nowhere near any ceremonial sun circles. Nevertheless, every time we stopped to look through the 1 pair of high-quality paper solar eclipse glasses provided by the library, Dale would ask, "Where is the moon?" "Look again," he would say moments later. "What do you see now?" Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, Ricardo.
Did I stay up here?
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to have you there. Let's have another round of applause for Ricardo. Okay, so we're going to have a Q&A. I have a few questions for Ricardo first. They're going to be hard-pressed questions. I'm sweating. And then we're going to open it up to you to ask some questions too. So, Ricardo, one thing I notice about when you're reading your poetry is that you wed together such skillful storytelling, which feels off the cuff in between each one. What do you think the importance is of telling the stories before you read the poems to us and your listeners?
Aha. Well, I probably went on too long, and I apologize. But I kind of like to fill in a little bit so that you're not too surprised with the poem, right? So you kind of have a little feeling of what is going to come. And I like to also tell you what maybe prompted me to write it or caused me, like when I explain the stumble in the 3 cows poem, or inserted the 3 cows because they were there, you know, and it just made it so much more interesting. So, are you saying that I should not go on so long?
No. There's.
I do like to ramble on a little bit, and I felt so comfortable with everybody that so I maybe I shouldn't apologize. It was okay.
No,
I'm glad you took that apology back. It was not needed at all. Something else I love when we teach in the schools, always start your lessons by talking about the fire circle to connect the students with something that's more ancestral, to give, I'd say, context and purpose to what they're doing. How do you see how they respond to that, and what is also the importance of having the students connect with something that's historical?
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting question. Yes, how do they connect? I think they really get it, because I go on about, imagine your ancestors way back then. Where did they have cell phones? No, everybody goes, no cell phones. How about TV? No, I don't think so, no TV. And then, this is way back when we lived in tribes and families. And I think they really enjoy that. And I tell them about the tradition of storytelling and why poems became so important, because they would rhyme, and so it was before the written word, and so you could remember them. Anyway, I think they enjoy it. And the Malibu students, I tell them about the Chumash. And so they immediately get that, the Chumash, and can see themselves around the fire. And so I think it's really valuable. Yeah. And then when I was teaching in LA Unified, those students seemed to love that too. And they were going, wait a minute, we had family back 10,000 years ago? I said, maybe even farther than that.
Beautiful, thank you. I think that my last question to you is more about, how did it feel to be the first Poet Laureate of Malibu, and how does it feel to see, its continuation and how it's been moving forward and growing through the years?
Yeah, well, I said it already in the beginning, but it is wonderful, and I appreciate what you are doing, and I think we all love what Nathan is doing. Yes. Yeah. It's mythical, and it's light, and it's the ripple effect. I love that idea, and I think it continues the fire circle, my fire circle theme.
Yeah.
And so from where it began, I've always had this incredible support. Ann Buxey is here, Jolynn, oh my gosh. I see Mr. Woodcock back there, yeah, and Cynthia. So, there was always Doug, Rucker. There were all of these wonderful people that helped out and made it happen. And I just kind of went along with it. It was really, I just went along with the flow. It was so lovely, yes. And I think really, really wonderful thing were the teachers. Remember the teachers that led us into the schools? And there was Miss Levy, Nancy Levy at the old Juan Cabrillo, and I just thought, wow, she just said yes. Oh yeah, bring this crazy poet guy into the classroom so he can teach our 5th graders. Yeah, and she was so supportive, and all the kids loved it. And that's how I met Jolynn. She was one of the mothers in the back of the room, and she continued to teach the whole time afterwards. And we just had those kids in the 5th grade were seniors this year, and we just had a big class with them. It was so much fun. Wasn't it, Jolynn?
Yes.
Yeah, it was great. It was really great.
Who knew? Do you know how you just wake up one morning and you go, oh my God, 8 years went by?
Yeah.
What happened?
So
And
I think there was some success.
You're very humble. He started the entire teaching schools to the kids. He started the whole thing in Malibu. Don't let him get up there and let him the flow. He started the entire program. It's here because of him.
There we go.
Thank you.
And thank you, Ricardo, and for your continued focus on community and what poetry can do for us and for a community in bringing us all closer together. And I really appreciate that perspective, and it's helped me, alongside other people in this room, it's helped me focus on community first throughout this laureateship. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
I'm going to hand you back the microphone and you can keep hold of it, and we're going to ask questions from our lovely audience. So here you go. Questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
Well, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Ricardo, thank you so much, and Anne, thank you. You're such a great,
Advocate.
yes. So you gave me so many images, and they're all swirling around in one, place. So the second poem
Yes.
that you read, there's an image of a girl in a green jacket
Mm-hmm.
and with braids. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
Could you tell me about that a little more, if you don't mind?
Yes. Okay. So, I don't know how many people have ever seen the salmon when they're running, and oh my God, it's unbelievable. It's just, you could really walk across the river on them, on their backs, and they're going up the river to die, right? And, leave their seed and die. So I was walking along the river, and there was a girl fishing, and I didn't really see her. It wasn't the girl that I described. The girl I described, Cynthia and I went to a cafe about 3 or 4 days later, and we came across this incredible little watercolor that this girl had painted. Not the girl that I saw, but another girl. And it had this big old salmon, a little girl with a smiley face, and she had perfectly the way I describe her in the story. With the jacket, the braids, the red hair, and the salmon. So
Beautiful.
I mixed the two images together.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Oh, Hildebrando! Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here. Ricardo, I was thinking about your poem Blue, about the dog.
Yes.
And I thought it was so emotional in a way. And it made me think about Izzy. Do you have a poem about Izzy?
I do have a poem about Izzy. Thankfully, it's not with me.
Oh.
Because I wouldn't be able to read it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I just, Hildebrando is talking about, Cynthia and I had a little wiener dog, Izzy, and she was 18 years old.
Wow.
And so she just passed a couple months ago. Yeah. But it was a really lovely passing, in our laps. Yeah. So how much better could it be? Yeah. Thank you. Yes, Kelly.
Hi,
Carrie.
Ricardo, really wonderful work. I have a question. How do you find your poems? Like, because they're very visual, and you were saying that, at one time it was when the kids were saying, Jesus, tell us the word. So I was just wondering what inspires you.
Yeah, it's almost always by accident. It's a stumble. It's always a stumble. I'll start writing. You all know this. You start writing something, and then it turns into something completely different, right? And thankfully it does. The good ones turn into something different. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So when I was writing this poem, Advice, now where did the carousel come from? I have no idea. I mean, I know that carousel because I grew up near Griffith Park, and I used to ride that carousel all the time. Oh, like where? So anyway, it's the stumble. That's where the poems come from. Yeah.
And you're just kind of always listening and open to.
Yeah, I don't say, I'm going to write this morning at 8 o'clock in the morning. I do try to write at least 3 times a week. I sit down and really try to write. And a lot of times nothing's happening, but eventually eventually, sometimes, if I'm lucky, something will happen. If I stumble. Did you want to ask about?
Yeah, so, because the carousel, because I live in Beachwood Canyon, I mean, I'm in Malibu also, but, where is the carousel?
Oh, that's the famous Griffith Park carousel.
Well, where in Griffith Park? Like, and how long has it been there?
You know where the museum is, the Gene Autry, the big museum, the West Museum?
Like where the observatory?
Where the,
Audrey?
it's, let's see, how would you describe it? It's where the old zoo,
Yeah.
it's near the old zoo,
The old zoo, okay.
and where there's tennis courts.
Okay, I never lived on that side of the park, I'm on the other side, so.
Yeah,
And
it's
now-
a really fabulous old carousel.
Does it still
Really,
work? Oh, yeah.
really cool.
So it's
And
still-
I used to play there and ride that carousel. So somehow, when I was writing the poem, the carousel injected itself, right? And then it seemed wonderful. Oh, well, P-22's got to have something to do while he's out there all by himself, right?
I just, the visuals on that, I just, so impactful. I just, P-22 and the carousel, like,
Oh, thank you.
yeah, I just, and living there, I'm just, I don't know where that is. Thank you for, yeah.
Shifra put it together really well. I can hardly wait to see when the real.
Who is
concept comes
Shifra?
out. Shifra.
Yeah.
There we go, Shifra. All right, we better let the open mic come, huh? Go.
Yeah. All right. I have one question for you. Can you tell us about what is available at the back and what it's being sold for?
Oh, yeah. So all the books are $10, and so I have the 2 different children's books. Yeah, and I have the most recent book of poetry, which is Beyond the Reef, the blue one, and then there's my original framing job that was published by Red Hand Press, and then I have one novel up there. Yeah.
What are the titles?
Oh, and the title of the novel is Brotherhood of Dolphins. This is the novel. I don't have my first novel, unfortunately. It's out of print, and I don't think they're ever going to publish it again. And this is my first book of poems, A Framing Job, by Red Hand Press. And they did do a second printing, which is really exciting. Yeah. And the 2 children's books.
What's the Radical Beauty? Is that the
Oh, Radical Beauty is the book that I did at the end. You know how we always do a book at the end of the Poet Laureate tenure? Mm-hmm. And this is the book that I did, and it's called Malibu After the Fire, and it's people in the community who experienced the fire, and it's beautiful. There's not only poetry, but art in here.
So it's an anthology?
It's an anthology, yes. So we have Ann Buxey has a piece of art and a poem in here. You probably don't even remember it.
No, I don't.
And Doug Rucker, Marlena has a poem in here. I don't think you have one, Jolene. No, I don't think.
And you're in there.
I'm in here.
And there's
Yes.
some incredible photos as well.
Yes, incredible photos. So that's that.
So everything's $10.
$10.
All right.
That's
There
a
we go.
blowout sale.
And what methods of payment do you take?
Only cash.
Cash only. It's a cash only bar. Okay, Ricardo Means Ybarra, thank you. All right. Okay, we're going to take a short break, and during the break you are more than welcome to purchase Ricardo's books, grab some coffee, use the restrooms, and then we're going to have our open mic. Thank you.